Hey guys, welcome back to the Reluctant Chaplain Bible Study Podcast. This is episode 8. We are continuing our study in Philippians, Paul's letter to the Philippians, the church in Philippi, from his imprisonment in Rome. And we're going to be working on chapter 2, verses 12 through 18. Okay, so here we go. We're just going to go ahead into the text tonight and pick up where we left off from last time. So then, my dear friends, just as you have always obeyed, not only in my presence, but even more in my absence, continue working out your salvation with awe and reverence. For the one bringing forth in you both the desire and the effort for the sake of his good pleasure is God. Do everything without grumbling or arguing, so that you may be blameless and pure, children of God, without blemish, though you live in a crooked and perverse society, in which you shine as lights in the world, by holding on to the word of life, so that on the day of Christ I will have a reason to boast that I did not run in vain nor labor in vain. But even if I am being poured out like a drink offering on the sacrifice and service of your faith, I am glad and rejoice together with all of you. And in the same way, you should also be glad and rejoice together with me. Okay. I am reading from the NET Bible tonight, the full notes version. I think there's a couple different versions. This is a really excellent one. I've been splitting time evenly between this one and the Reformation Study Bible, ESV. Okay, so we pick up where he says, "So then." So then is here, it's written there to draw a conclusion from the preceding statement, referring back to Jesus' perfect example of humility, submission, and obedience described in verses 5 through 8. So what I want to do is I want to go back here and just go through those real quick. This is Philippians 2, verses 5 through 8, and he's talking about, the identifying characteristics of the Christian lifestyle, or whatever you want to call it. Okay, you should have the same attitude toward one another that Jesus Christ had, who, though he existed in the form of God, did not regard equality with God as something to be grasped, but emptied himself by taking on the form of a slave, by looking like other men, and by sharing in human nature. He humbled himself by becoming obedient to the point of death, even death on a cross. So that's what he's referring to back there. And there's another quote here which is relevant to this, and it's from First John, chapter 2 and verse 6, which is, "The one who says he abides in him, Christ, ought to himself to walk in the same manner as he walked." So he's commending them on their faithful pattern of obedience while he, Paul, was amongst them, and that is even more important when he is not there. These people were extremely fortunate. If you think about this, they had the Apostle Paul as a teacher. I mean, this is the guy that wrote a significant part of the New Testament, um, who after the disciples, no one else saw him like this. I mean, other than Stephen being martyred and some other uh, maybe sort of ancillary cases. Um, Paul's the one that had that massive revelation on the road to Damascus, being struck down blind by the Lord, and called from being a persecutor of Christianity to being its arguably, probably its greatest evangelist, creating all those early churches. So these people, they had an intensely strong bond with him, and now he's in prison hundreds of miles away. His only communication with them is going to be letters and the occasional visit, a report from mutual friends. So Paul's urging them to remember that they are obligated not to him, but to Christ, to remember why and who they're doing the things that they do, and to continue to live in that lifestyle. And again, he gives all those examples like 5 through 8, and how that they should be living. One of the things I wanted to really go over here was this translation uses awe and reverence uh, as the phrase for working out their salvation, and in the ESV, it's fear and trembling. And there's also the phrase working out your salvation. So I'm going to read right from MacArthur's commentary, because again, I always say, why reinvent the wheel when someone else has already described it really well. So this is a little bit long here, but I think it's super important. So check this out. So we're talking about the whole fear and trembling thing. Although God is loving, merciful, and forgiving, he nevertheless holds believers accountable for disobedience. Like John, Paul understood well that if we say that we have no sin, we are deceiving ourselves, and the truth is not in us. If we confess our sins, he is faithful and righteous to forgive us our sins and to cleanse us from all righteousness. Knowing that he serves a holy and just God, the faithful believer will always live with fear and trembling. Fear translates phobos, which describes fright or terror, as well as reverential awe. Trembling is from tremos, which refers to shaking, and is the word from which the English word tremor derives. Both of those are proper reactions to the awareness of one's own spiritual weakness and the power of temptation. The Lord seeks such an attitude in his children, as his words in Isaiah 66:2 indicate. To this one I will look to him who is humble and contrite of spirit and who trembles at my word. An important Old Testament truth is the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. You can look at Psalm 111:10 or Proverbs 1:7 or 9:10. This is not a fear of being doomed to eternal torment, nor a hopeless dread of judgment that leads to despair. It is rather a reverential fear, a holy concern to give God the honor he deserves and avoid the chastening of his displeasure. Such fear protects against temptation and sin and gives motivation for obedient, righteous living. So when you hear, the fear of God, it's not like some monster is coming for you. It's a genuine, just awe um, of just how amazing and powerful that he is. The other thing I want to talk about was the whole working out the salvation thing. They're not talking about working to get your salvation. Now, salvation only comes through one thing, and that's through um, Christ's sacrifice for us on the cross. That's it. He doesn't do that. We got nothing. There's no works we can do. Paul, and I forget the reference here. You can always hit me up if you want it later. But Paul describes all our good deeds as dirty rags. The actual translation of that is something much more foul than dirty rags, and I'm not going to say it here. You can hit me up offline for that one. But trust me, it is nasty. Uh, it's foul. So without Christ, that our good works are a product of our salvation. It's not the other way around. Our good works don't get us salvation. We can't work. That's the biggest difference between Christianity and other world religions. Think about it. I mean, all of them. You have to do work to reach up and reach God, right? We're reaching up for God. Christianity is the only one where God came down to us. He's perfect and holy, and we can't be in his presence unless we are. And we screwed that up right from the garden, right from the original sin. We can't do that. So the only way that that works is if someone pays the price for us, because we can't pay that price. That's why the sacrificial system in ancient Israel, they kept killing and killing and killing to atone for sins, and Christ offered the perfect sacrifice. So there's no amount of work that we can do, no amount of good deeds. We can't do it. We needed Christ to do it. So when he's saying work out your salvation, he's not talking about good deeds to do that. It's more of just staying locked in because of your salvation and wanting to show what you have for it. Hopefully that makes sense to everybody, and I didn't just waste 2 or 3 minutes of your life right there. Uh, and that I'm actually gonna stop on that. I mean, there's a little bit more to the chapter here of uh, of Paul, and saying that if he's poured out as an offering for your sacrifice and service, he's good with that. Um, so Paul is happy. Like we spoke earlier about, um, Paul's good either way. To to live as gain, Christ to live as messing this up. And there's hi daughter. Oh, you're recording. Yes, I am. I thought you were on a call. No, I'm not. I also don't want to be in the background of your recording. Okay. I'm going to pause here a second. Hang on. Hey, just ignore any glitches that you saw. As I was saying, Paul said to live as Christ, to die as gain, meaning that, he's excited to do the work here on earth to further the gospel. But if he dies, he gets to be with Christ. Then there's no losing there. So that's pretty much where we're going to wrap up tonight. Again, if you guys have any questions, reach out to me. I'm easy to find. You can hit me up, and email, robcloss@outlook.com. You can call me. A lot of you guys have my phone number. There's not many people watching this thing. You can reach me on social media as well, Facebook or Instagram. And Facebook, we have the Reluctant Chaplain Facebook page as well. I try and post cool theological stuff there as often as I possibly can. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for listening. I hope this thing is a blessing to you. I know that even if no one's listening, I'm learning a ton too. Now, I sit here and give this information, and it might sound like I know it, and oftentimes the stuff that I'm saying to you is stuff that I just picked up by picking up all these commentaries and going deeper. So it's forcing me to learn too, and I'm loving it. Anyway, love you guys. Have a good night. Take care.